gosh. Jessie, wake up. Jessie, we need to titrate, Jessie.
What's up, Mr. White? What are you doing?
We need to titrate, Jessie.
What?
For them, we need to do a titration.
Oh, okay. What are we doing, Mr. White?
So, Jessie, as you may be able to see, we have set up our burette and also our beaker full of our different substances.
I just woke up from an overdose.
Yeah, you did just wake up from an overdose, Jessie.
I don't feel so good, Mr. White. Do you have any Narcan?
Jessie, you're crazy. Jessie, shut your mouth, Jessie.
So, Mr. White, what are we mixing?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Jessie. So, first, we're going to be starting off with what we have in our burette. We have HNO3. Specifically, it's going to be 0.75 molar. And then, in our beaker, we have ammonia, NH3. And it's going to be 0.25 molar.
Right,
conveniently, we have 75 milliliters, and hypothetically, we think that 25 milliliters of this HNO3 will get us to our equivalence point, Jessie.
Well, why are we using such random chemicals, Mr. White?
Well, guess what? I'm glad you asked. This HNO3 is a strong acid, and for the buffer reaction, it will be good to use that with our NH3 ammonia also. But guess what? Do you even know anything about those chemicals, Jessie?
I don't know anything about them.
Well, guess what? Ammonia is commonly used in fertilizing. Approximately 80% of all major fertilizers are ammonia. But guess what? HNO3 is also commonly used in the production of ammonium nitrate. That's crazy, is it not?
That is pretty crazy.
It's also used for the production of plastics, Jessie.
I don't even use plastic.
The same plastic we use for making...
Whoa, hold up. We might need to cook, Mr. White.
But not right now, Jessie. We're titrating.
Oh, of course.
So, what we're going to do first is we're going to take our methyl red indicator and we're going to use this to see what the point will be of the pH for our NH3, Jessie. So, what we're going to do first is we're going to use this pipette to get some pH indicator and
Yeah,
down in
science.
here. Jessie,
That's a lot of indicator, Mr. White.
you know I love science.
Do you love to cook, Mr. White?
Not as much as I love science. And so,
It's like a yellow color.
it is.
So what do you think it'll do whenever it's finished?
I think it'll turn into like a bit of a red-orange.
Wow.
That's what we're hypothesizing here. And so, now that we've gotten our pH indicator solution inside of this, we now are able to find out what this will be. So now, though, what are we forecasting? So what we've calculated, Jessie, is that our initial pH is going to be 11.33, but if we take a look here, it's 11.33 on this device we have. This is called the methamphetammeter. And this is able to tell us what the pH of it is.
You're blowing my mind right now, Mr. White.
And so, once we get to the 1/4, half, and 3/4 equivalence point, and even the equivalence point itself will notify you and tell you the pH and how much we deviate from this.
Absolutely, Mr. White.
Okay.
So, audience, what do you think the pH will be when 8 milliliters of HNO3 is added to the titration?
So, we are going to be adjusting this beaker.
Yeah, science.
Now, let's do this.
Whoa, Mr. White, what are you doing? Turning it on? You turn me on.
You know it, Jessie.
I think it's starting to drip. It's working.
Well, Jessie, you know I've got drip. But, so, as you might have been able to see, or might not have been able to see, I just had a mistake in using the burette. This burette is very sensitive. It is very easy to have a very constant stream of our a titrate solution dropped down into the beaker.
Well, Mr.
And
White, we live in a drip or drown world.
Well, Jesse, I want you to know that we live in a
Society.
And so, if you think about it, when using this burette, you have to be very precise in terms of your movements when you're releasing your titrate solution, Jesse. You understand?
I do understand.
I taught you all this in chemistry. I don't know how you couldn't understand. And so, now, what we're going to be using is we have our drop counter, which is able to give us an approximation of how much we're going to be putting into this. We're also going to be using our burette, so we will also be measuring how much is dropping into the beaker.
Look, the line's blue. Just like something else.
Our ultra pure Jesse. And so, then, now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be dropping into this beaker while stirring. And so, now, what we've got here is our procedure. So first, what we did was we used one of these bad boys. Y'all know what these are called, Jesse?
Fennel.
Real close, but they're called funnels. These funnels is what we use to measure our substances out in a graduated cylinder or the burette itself. Crazy, right, Jesse?
You're blowing my mind.
I know.
You're blowing my cock.
I love science, so I know this stuff. And so, where we started was at the 10 mark, but now we're at the 24 mark.
Wow.
That's a lot. So, currently, we've dripped down about... We're nearing the 15 milliliter mark. And so, if we are looking here, that is roughly like a little over our half equivalence point.
Mm-hmm.
And so, now, currently, we're at a pH of 9.7, roughly, which, if you think about it, is our 1/4 equivalence point pH. So but our half equivalence point pH is 9.3. But we are definitely approaching 9.3.
Definitely.
And so,
That's you, Mr. White. Definitely. That's what you sound like.
Jesse, stop mocking me. We're titrating right now.
My bad, Mr. White.
Yeah,
I'm
it is
Jessie
your bad.
Pinkman.
Okay, so if we take a look here at our burette, we're currently at we've dripped 18 milliliters into the beaker. 18 milliliters? You know what that reminds me of?
18 millimeters.
That reminds me of our 3/4 equivalence point.
Oh,
But
that's right.
here's the thing: at 3/4 equivalence point, what's our pH supposed to be?
5.
Wrong, Jesse. It's 8.8. Jesse, I should have taught you this stuff.
I'm sorry, Mr. White.
Gosh, should have paid attention in class instead of shooting up heroin all day.
Come on, Mr. White. This is a sensitive topic. That
Not
shouldn't
that-
be made fun of.
Not that sensitive. Okay, so Jesse, if we're looking at this graph, as the titration progresses, we are slightly getting closer to having our pH lowered because
it's
of the
going
strong
down,
acid
Mr. White.
and the burette. It is going down. But what would just so happen to be the case is that our pH is currently 9.4. Well, we've hypothesized much higher, specifically 8.8 for our pH at this point.
That's lower, Mr. White.
So, we've now found that there are some statistical variations in this experiment. Why do you think that is, Micah? We're not sure.
Who's that?
Jesse?
I'm not quite sure, Mr. White. I think maybe we turned on our device a little too late, and I don't think it calculated all of the numbers from the drops. That's my hypothesis.
Well, Jesse, I think you're crazy. But I'm just like George Washington. I can't tell a lie, Jesse.
Well, your
except-
cancer probably is affecting your brainwaves somehow, because I think you're crazy, Mr. White.
I mean, I can't tell a lie, Jesse, except for all those lies I've told. But here's the thing.
I think it's...
We had forgotten to start collecting before we began, and
That's right.
so we started collecting a little late. I know.
Very
I
sad.
may be your chemistry teacher, but we all make mistakes sometimes.
I don't think you should be making mistakes like this, Mr. White. We have the purest stuff in the world from you not making mistakes, man.
It's just mistakes are sometimes necessary when making methamphetamine when titrating. So, currently, we're just past our proposed equivalence point. We've dripped 26 milliliters of our HNO3 into this beaker, but guess what, Jesse?
It hasn't changed color, Mr. White.
We haven't even seen a change in color. What do you think this might be?
I think that maybe one of our solutions is a bit too dilute, Mr. White.
So, we had to dilute both of our chemicals, which always leaves room, Jesse. I'll have you know. You should know this. Let's say it then. It always leaves room
For error, Mr. White.
Exactly. So, there's a chance when diluting our chemicals we could have made a mistake. And there's also an equal chance that we made mistakes in terms of our use of the burette and in terms of our general knowledge of the actual pH and also the molar of these substances. But, as sad as it may be, we could have also made mistakes in our calculations, which I guarantee isn't the case, because I'm great and perfect, and we all know this.
I'm the best mathematician in all of New Mexico, Mr. White.
And so, what we know, Jesse, is that this substance will be able to reach its equivalence point sometime soon. So, you may not be able to see, but I can see, but I want you to see that I can see what the pH is currently. The pH is currently roughly 8.8. That is the hypothesized pH at our 3/4 equivalence point. What we can gather from this is that we underestimated our equivalence point in our calculations. We are roughly at what our 3/4 equivalence point would be, so there must have been some kind of statistical deviation. Maybe a percent error, some may say, in our calculations.
I've never heard of that.
Well, percent error, you ask, is actually the differences between the actual experimental results and your calculated. Isn't that neat?
Who are you talking to right now?
Then, Jesse,
What?
they're watching, Jesse. They're always watching.
You're telling me that right now, Gus is watching us?
Gustavo Fring himself, he's watching. He's always watching, Jesse. And so, now, from this point, we've currently got a pH of 8.3/4, 8.3, or you know, and counting. It's changing. But what you can understand is that this is constantly changing, just like our lives. But Jesse, Jesse.
Yeah, Mr. White. Sorry, I just had to do heroin in the other room. Nothing against you or anything.
Come on, Jesse, you can't be doing heroin while we're titrating. So now, heroin's bad, and we do not condone the use of that substance.
I condone it.
I'm Heisenberger, and this is and this is Jessie Pinkman. And we say that methamphetamine is bad, but guess what? Take a look at this. Look at this graph. If you take a look, it's actually starting to go in the downward curve. That means, guess what we're nearing? Our equivalence point. And now, that means that we're getting real close to this point. Guess what? You should be keeping a lookout for this change in this color.
You should let them see it, Mr. White.
I did just I just showed them, Jesse. This is why I'm telling you to stop doing heroin. Okay, so now, if you take a look, our urine slowed down and it's dropping. Am I right or am I right, Jesse?
I think I hate you.
Well, after all I did to you, Jesse, I wouldn't. And look at this here!
Oh my God, Mr. White. I take everything I said back, Mr. White. I'm sorry.
But now,
I love you.
I love you too, Jesse.
Wow.
Well, Jesse, it's crazy that we were able to really do that. That's substantial. This is a discovery in the world of science, Jesse.
It is.
Of chemistry. Like AP chemistry.
Thank you so much for watching Gustavo Fring, and we'll see you next time.